4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. Just remember to leave your name and area code in the YouTube chat so I can know who you are and who's calling. You can also leave your comments and questions in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/liberaldanradio. And if you're listening after the live broadcast, you can always leave your comments, questions, concerns over at the show thread at liberaldan.com. You can tweet at me at liberaldanradio on Twitter, or of course respond to the thread on the comment thread on the video on YouTube as well. A bunch of stuff we're going to talk about today. Let's see, first and foremost, if you want to support the show, you can please remember to subscribe if you have not already done so. Try and get some other people to subscribe as well so I can hit that 4,000, I need 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours of videos viewed. You can also support the show by becoming Liberal Dan Radio patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there. Or you can, if a one-time purchase, buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. I guess I could just put buymeacider.liberaldan.com as a link and make that easier as well. We might try and do that after the show if I remember, or just Venmo me. Just make sure to do it, friends and family, so there's no fees involved. So, let's talk about it. I went to the dentist today. I think Jolie went, or Aaron, you went yesterday, right? So I went to the dentist today, and it had been like 2 years. I've been a bad dental patient, though the insurance that I was currently on, my normal dentist didn't take, and I was just having a hard time finding a dentist that I wanted to go to or whatever. So I ended up just getting on my works insurance for dental insurance this year, and apparently I was a good boy because I've been a good brusher, because the person was like, cleaning my teeth, was like, what have you been using between your teeth? I'm like, I've been a bad person flossing. I haven't flossed recently. She was like, because I was expecting it to be a mess since you'd been 2 years, and it was really good. Like, she didn't have to do much work. So apparently I'm very good when it comes to my oral hygiene. So kudos to me. Gold star for Liberal Dan on that one. What else is going on? Personally, I mean, still think lingering effects of COVID. I think COVID just kind of wiped me out energy-wise. So there's the limited. I think that's still kind of hovering there, even though I'm negative, and most of the coughing has gone away. Though I do have a bit of a lingering cough going on, but it's much better than previous, because again, I think the Paxlovid is just that much better. Let's see, Jeff Curry, would you rather attend the Super Bowl and hang with the players after the game, or go to the Puppy Bowl and hang with the players after the game? That's a hard question, because I do love me some puppies. But if you were hanging out with like the Super Bowl winners after the game, that party would be lit. So I don't know. I think that would be a really fun party to go to. You could always find a bunch of puppies to play with. You can't necessarily always go hang out with the Super Bowl winners. So even though, generally speaking, like, I would probably love to hang out with the puppies more individually than the players, I'd pick the players, because what other opportunity would you have to do that? So, because it's one of those things, like, there was a meme going around that was like, if you had to pick from these 6 actors, and all of them are black actors, it was like Denzel, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, and 3 others who I'm blanking on. Eddie Murphy was one. If you had to get rid of one of the people, and every movie that person was in, you would no longer be able to see which of these actors would you choose. And it was, my friend picked Denzel Washington, and I'm like, on a likability, maybe I think I might like Morgan Freeman more individually than I would Denzel Washington, but I think getting rid of Denzel Washington, I'd lose more movies than I would getting rid of Morgan Freeman, and as such, I'd have to go with getting rid of Morgan Freeman, even though you lose the Batman trilogy. So Jeff, I'm from Missouri. I go with puppies all day long, but I ain't no Chiefs fan, so fair enough. Yeah, if it was like the Saints in the Super Bowl and the Saints won, and I had the opportunity to hang out with the Saints because I'm a Saints fan, versus the Puppy Bowl, I think the Saints would win. I have my own puppy. I can play with my puppy whenever I want to. So, what's up, Devin Ox? Get some good food. get some good food to try in that air fryer. Demonox is an air fryer. He's also working on his episodes, so we're hoping to see or hear a new episode from The World According to Knox, hopefully soon. Let's all put our fingers together and fingers crossed and all bow our heads in prayer. Oh Lord, please allow the Demonox to come along and make a new podcast. Anyway, so I'll get to the Merrick Garland thing in a bit. The first thing I did want to talk about, you had the Tyre Nichols funeral today, and it was too sad for me to sit there and watch. I just didn't want to. I haven't watched the full video yet either. I don't know if I want to either. We know it's terrible. We know it's horrible. And I know the family wants it spread wide so that people can see what the hell happened to their kid. And police officers should see, look, this is what happened. This is what you don't do. I don't know. I mean, how many more times does this need to happen? I mean, clearly, they're dealing with the after effects stuff, like they're eliminating the Scorpion Squad or whatever. I mean, whoever thought we're going to take a squad of people and we're going to make them into a team and call them the Scorpion Squad? And do you think that's not going to sting you on after a while? Do you think naming these people after naming this group after a poisonous, I guess, is it insect that can kill you? Did they think that it was going to go any differently than what happened? I mean, these people were harassing lots of people. This wasn't the first time these people did this. They've been doing it for a while, and not only did you have the people who were the initial cops, who were all black, by the way, which kind of raised my eyebrows. Like, they're running to make sure that to punish these folks. Well, I wonder why that is because they're black too. Finally got another white officer who was involved, who I think was the one that tased Tyre Nichols, and he got arrested, and then I think he got fired. I don't know if he was arrested. You have the paramedics who just sat there and didn't administer first aid like they should have when they got there. They lost their jobs. Heads are rolling, but we need to not be in a situation where we have to have heads roll. We need to be in a situation where these people don't act like this in the first place. That's why we need police reform. That's why we need oversight over the police. That's why we need to make sure that any officers that come forward to cross the thin blue line and say, hey, this is wrongdoing that's going on in my station, we need to make sure that they are protected and they are viewed as the heroes, and that the people who are breaking the law are the villains. But again, as I've talked about in the show before, when people, when you had that video of the guy in Jersey who was going to get convicted of resisting arrest until a second police car rolled up, because the first police car footage just showed, the dash cam showed the police officers yelling, stop grabbing for my gun, stop grabbing for my gun. So they were going to put him on trial because they said, well, he's grabbing for his gun, and that's against the law. You can't resist arrest, you can't reach for the officer's gun. But the second camera angle clearly showed that he wasn't reaching for the officer's gun, which made me question, this can't be the only example of police officers just shouting this out loud. I mean, often you'll hear police officers shouting, stop resisting, but they also hear them say, stop reaching for my gun. It happened again, I think, in Alton Sterling, I think in Baton Rouge. The police officer there was saying, stop reaching for my gun, stop reaching for my gun. But I asked somebody that I know who's a police department somewhere in Louisiana, I'm not going to say which department, but he basically said, yeah, that it was part of like a not impersonal, what's the word I'm looking for? It's part of their, kind of backdoor training, part of their informal training, that, they'll tell the rookie cops or whatever, if you're struggling with a person, shout, stop reaching for my weapon. It doesn't matter if they're reaching for your weapon or not, because at the end of the day, it's going to give the people around you who are witnesses plausible deniability, because then you can say, Was the police officer shouting, stop? What was the police officer shouting? Well, the police officer was shouting, stop reaching for my weapon. Could you see the person reaching for the weapon? Well, I really didn't have a good view on it, but that's what I heard them saying. And then that's going to give any jury plausible deniability, enough doubt to not be able to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. And then someone else called into the show, confirmed the same thing. You have where police departments were absolutely teaching their officers to lie, because in order just in case they ended up having to kill somebody, because that way, or just in case they ended up killing somebody, that way they can say, well, it was self-defense, because can't you see he was shouting, stop reaching for my gun? So he really believed that the person was reaching for his gun, even if the person really wasn't reaching for the gun. It's part of the problem with gun culture as a whole too, in that, this is what they also kind of teach and if you kill the person after you shout stop reaching for my gun, that person can't testify and say, hey, that person, I wasn't reaching for the gun. They can't testify if they actually end up shooting them. The same thing with like the murder trials, as we've discussed previously. If you shoot and kill the person that you ended up fighting with, they can't testify against you. Whether or not, the three people were good people or not that Kyle Rittenhouse shot, the ones that are dead can't give their side of the story in trial. So it's better for the people who are using their guns. It's better for them to kill the people than to not kill the people, especially if there's no other reliable witnesses around. So Jeff Curry, I got stopped for doing 143. I don't even know if I've been in a car that can go 143. Maybe the Porsche that my uncle had. I might have done that once. Cops seemed a bit mad, but never beat the. I wonder why that is. Let's see. How's that puppy? The puppy's very good. I think last week I said there was no mess in a while, which of course jinxed it. She peed on the couch the other day, so I had to wash the cushions last night. But hey, she's still a puppy. She's allowed to have a few mistakes, but she's doing really well. She's obsessed with going outside. I'm constantly getting up out of my chair downstairs to let her outside, and then I have to go let her back in, and then 5 minutes later she wants to go back out, and then she wants to go back in and go back out. And so I'm in physical therapy because my knee bothers me, and one of the exercises they're having me do, they started it last week. I think it was on Thursday. They started on Thursday where they wanted to time how many times I could do, like, without my arms, stand up from a sitting position. And I think I did like 12 and 30 seconds, and the person said, that's pretty good. And I'm like, I've been training for this for the past few months because my dog always wants me to get up and let her outside. So it's practice for physical therapy. So apparently Blanche is just trying to help with my knee. She's a very sweet dog that way, I suppose. So, hello, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us again. And thank you for your calls last week. Comments against Mr. Gibson Media were very much appreciated. Especially last week when I was struggling for 3 hours, and it was definitely good when other people came aboard to do some talking for me because I was hurting. So, as you can see, a little bit of a cough, not as bad. But I did bring up 2 cups of water with me and almost already finished one of them already. So I'm making sure to keep myself well hydrated and my whistle well wetted, so to speak. So that's my kind of ranting on the Tyre Nichols thing. We'll see more what happens with the trials. I cannot imagine that these people are going to get off unless maybe one of them flips on the other and gives something that, and I don't think that'll make him get off. I think that maybe if somebody flips, that'll get him a lighter sentence. But these people are terrible, horrible people, and then it's one of the things that conservatives are often really say, oh, this is black people killing another black person, so it's not racism. But yes, it is, because racism is a systemic issue, and there are many times when black people, especially black people in positions of power, can perpetuate systemic oppression and marginalization of other black people by perpetuating the systems of injustice and systems of oppression and the systems that marginalize folks in this country. You don't have to be a white person to extend white privilege. You don't have to be a white person to enforce a system of laws and a system of justice or injustice, if you will, to against black folks in this country. So, hello, Robert Reynolds. Shout out to you. Shout out to all of the Liberal Dan Radio patrons. You got Robert, Wes, Bill, Jolie, Aaron, Alan, your boy Chris, Cesar, Deminox, the first Liberal Dan Radio patron, and of course you have Julie, the first Liberal Dan Radio producer, and of course Jolie and Aaron are both also Liberal Dan Radio mods. They are the mod squads. See, Bo had the best analogy using a Monopoly game. I don't know if I got caught that or not. So let's see. What was the next thing I was talking about? Oh, yeah. So moving on to the next subject for a little bit. We'll have plenty of weeks to talk more about Tyre Nichols, but I don't think I spent enough time talking about it last week because I spent too much time discussing things with good old Joe. And I can't believe dude asked. I can't believe he was like, well, trying to sort of equate the positions of somebody choosing to be a Nazi and somebody being born to a Jewish person, and as such being Jewish themselves. That was just, I shouldn't be shocked by it, but the lengths that they go to try and play, well, both sides do it, or try and make it seem like, well, what if they convince you that you're wrong? Well, what, I'm wrong for being born? Like, come on, it's ridiculous. So, if the last part of the show, at least the last hour, I should probably chop that out and post it either separately or post it on the Anchor podcast page and be like, hey, this is what I had to deal with. Me or Dan arguing with a Nazi, or he'll claim to not be a Nazi, of course, but a lot of Nazis claim to not be Nazis until they turn out to be Nazis. So it is. Oh, sorry, that is Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So Florida officials rejected a new AP course, arguing that it does not comply with state law. The AP course was African American Studies, so of course, well, let's stop at that. So imagine starting the game by rolling dice. Even number goes first. Odd number has to wait 10 turns to start the game. That's a decent one. I mean, I like John Scalzi has a post that went super viral, talking about issues of like privilege and basically comparing life to a video game and saying that, okay, well, sometimes video games have different difficulty modes. So privilege is basically a difficulty mode. How many obstacles are going to be thrown in your way? How many enemies are going to be thrown in your way that you have to deal with when it comes to your individual life on average compared to somebody else. So all other things being equal, a black person is going to have more obstacles thrown in their way than the similarly situated white person. And so the white person basically gets to start the game on easy mode, and then the black person starts the game on a higher difficulty level. So does that mean that the white person is going to save the princess all the time? No. The white person might be inept at playing the game of life. Does that mean that the black person is going to fail in rescuing the princess? No, because the black person could be adept at playing the game of life. It doesn't mean that the obstacles you can't ignore the fact that they had to deal with more obstacles. And of course, as I'm explaining this to people, I usually throw in the idea that it's always saving the princess and not the other way around. Just explains another level of intersectionality that they're probably not ready for because they haven't grasped the general idea of privilege from the beginning. So, Imagine you're only allowed to buy on the road with Baltic Place. Yeah, you can only buy in the slot. Actually, you know what happens is probably all the people living in the Boardwalk and Park Place are the ones that own all the other territories, and that's the problem with Monopoly. Although people don't play Monopoly correctly, like if you pass on a property and choose to not buy it, it then gets auctioned. So there's always an opportunity for everybody to buy a property if you choose to not buy that property. And then, of course, the original rules of Monopoly were completely different. You had the renters, and you had I think you had there was like an anti-monopoly game, and you had the capitalists and the anti-capitalists, and each person played by a different set of rules, and so it made it more interesting, I guess. But I guess somebody didn't want to promote anti-capitalism or whatever, so that's probably why they changed the game. Hey, Benny Loco, thanks for joining as well. Appreciate you. Hey, Ken, how's it going? Hey, Bill. Thanks for joining us as well. All right, so back to the AP Studies courses. Of course, Florida Ron DeSantis signed the Stop the Woke bill or whatever in 2022 because they have this biggest problem with wokeness, and the idea that you should understand that other people are marginalized and have issues, and they're systemic in this country, and that perhaps we should deal with them. The Stop the Woke bill basically was like, you can't make white students feel bad for being white. Boo-hoo. What will they ever do? Even though they're not actually saying you should feel bad for being white because these past white people did things. But it's reasonable to point out that most of the people that own slaves, most of the slaves were owned by white people, white slave owners, and because when the South seceded from the country, from the rest of the country, and they wanted to form their own little country that didn't last very long, they specifically stated that they felt that the white race was superior. They felt that they specifically stated that they felt that you should be able to own slaves, and so the Confederate States of America was a country born on white supremacy. I mean, there's no other way to argue it. And white supremacy is bad. And according to these a-holes, saying white supremacists are bad is akin to saying white people are bad. Well, that's because these white people are white supremacists and they don't want to be called out on their crap. So Florida Education Commissioner, this is from USA Today, Manny Diaz Jr. last month shared a list of concerns about the course, including ranging from broad concepts to specific authors. DeSantis said the state rejected the course because it included the study of queer theory and movements that advocate for abolishing prisons. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about the abolishing prisons first. If it discusses that there are people who believe in prison abolishment, that doesn't mean that you're teaching that you should abolish prisons. That means that you're teaching, when you're teaching about like African American studies in this country, you're including all of the activism movements within African American political and political science type issues, and you're going to discuss. And if you don't discuss all of them, you're leaving things out. So you're going to discuss abolishing prisons. You are not condoning abolishing prisons. It's like my grandpa on my mom's side was very mad that my mom took a course, a comparative religions course in college that included studying the Quran. So she had a copy of the Quran in the house. And he was pissed that we had a copy of the Quran in the house. And I was like, the class isn't teaching you to be Muslim. The class is teaching you to understand what people who are Muslim believe, if you practice Islam, what they believe. It's learning about something isn't promoting it. But these are the same clowns who fight sex ed who only want abstinence only class either, because they feel that if you arm children with information on how to protect themselves during sex, that you're somehow giving tacit approval to have sex in the first place, and you're not. But these are the overly simplistic, poorly educated people that Donald Trump claims to love. And these are the people that are being manipulated by these politicians. And it's maybe that's why it's so easy, for the Republican Party to do as well as they do, is because their base is much more easily manipulated than ours is. We have probably more critical thinkers than theirs do. We're not as easily swayed by the bull. So when their followers get the bull, they're like, oh, well, that makes sense, whatever, I agree with that, that's got to be right. So they go ahead and believe it without critically thinking, because again, they reject critical thinking. They could reject the idea that you should be looking into issues. They just want to be, the Republicans just want to say, okay, well, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. So let's see, I think did we find the list? Let's see. Manny Diaz Jr. Despite the lies from Biden White House, Florida rejected an AP course filled with critical race theory and other obvious violations of federal law. We proudly require the teaching of African American history. We do not accept woke indoctrination, masquerading as education. Happy soon-to-be birthday, Bill. My closest friends couldn't go to school with me or drink from the same fountain or sit with me in a restaurant. That's what they want to go back to, though, and that's the damn shame. Let's see. Topic 4.15. Intersectionality and activism. Concern. Intersectionality is fundamental to CRT and ranks people based on their race, wealth, gender, and sexual orientation. It doesn't rank people on race, wealth, gender, and sexual orientation. It basically says that you may have privilege or not in certain areas. So you have, if me, I'm white, I'm cisgendered, I'm middle class, I'm a dude. So those are things that, that benefit me. I mean, being middle class, I might not have as much privilege as someone who's wealthy. Being Jewish, I might not have as much privilege. Being fat, I might not have as much privilege. But there are ideas that go in there that say, okay, well, just because you check a box, it doesn't mean you're checking all the boxes, and there are still ways that you can suffer in society above and beyond one of the check boxes. So you could be a black woman, or you could be a black man and not have the privileges of racial privilege, but you have gendered privilege. And that's not ranking people, it's just understanding what they're going through. The movement for Black Lives. Topic 4.29. Movement for Black Lives is an organization with stated objectives that include eliminating prisons and jails, including ending pretrial detention, and concluding the war on black, trans, queer, gender nonconforming, and intersex people. I mean, I guess they want to continue the war on black, trans, queer, gender nonconforming, and intersex people. I mean, that says to me, at least. Included reading Leslie Key Jones, who wrote, "Every day black people produce an unquantifiable amount of content for the same social media corporations that reproduce the white supremacist superstructures that oppress us." I mean, I understand how that might sound dangerous to a white supremacist, but, it's not false. Black feminist literary thought, included reading Bell Hooks, author of many intersectionality texts, and in the recommended reading states, I begin to... There we go, I'm starting to get the coughs up again. And in the recommended reading, I begin to use the phrase work, white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Scary words. Hey, Bill Deacon. Hey, Leanna. Thank you for joining. Hey, Aquatic. Aquatic FBF. White has a higher rank than... White people have more privilege than black people. Yes. Oh, we have a caller. Who is calling? Elizabeth. That's Elizabeth. I think. Is that Elizabeth?
Yes.
Yay, hey, how are you
Yes.
doing? Go ahead.
Fine. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Talk while I drink some water.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I thought I might do. This is a very, very excellent book on Black history. It's an anthology, and it's called Crossing the Danger Water. And it has African American history and authors, and it even has one chapter on full of newspaper articles full of lynchings. It's a fascinating. It's got Maya Angelou, it's got Frederick Douglass. It's amazing. But that doesn't trickle into the classroom, into the curriculum. How teachers are trained is a big deal. The problem is parents aren't privy. I don't know why it's a big secret how teachers teach. It would be helpful for parents to learn because some people, managing children, managing their education ain't an easy task. So it helps to have teacher information that is given to the parents. It's not some big mystery like the types of curriculum, the types of books we read in college. You want to know how I was indoctrinated? Here, take this home and read this. The biggest problem is this, Liberal Dan, and I'm going to, one more thing I want to add.
Sure.
I want to say that white people have been working so hard they can't find their butt with both hands because the economy, since it's been trickle down your leg economics, pee on you and tell you it's raining
right.
Economics for so long, right? That they're working 2 and 3 jobs and they can barely raise their own children, much less pay attention to what's happening and who's picking their pockets. So now they just know their pockets getting picked and somebody's telling them, well, it's them, and that's the person they always trusted, so why not? Right? Because they don't have time to look. Okay, and now what's happening is the people picking the pockets are scapegoating brown, Jew. It doesn't matter who or what. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight. I don't think they personally really care. It's anybody they can marginalize. Anyone, a woman, you're black, you're Jewish, you're gay, you're purple, you're orange. I can discriminate against a person that's orange, a particular orange person, actually.
Mm.
So anyway, that's my thing. Okay, it's a big load of crap.
Right, actually, and the course that we're talking about in this one with DeSantis opposing this, AP from African American Studies course it's an optional course. No one's forced to take it. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. But if you want to take it, take it. And so nobody's being forced to go into this classroom, but they don't want to give even people the option to be able to learn about these
Frankly,
sort of things.
I think it's absolute. If you look at the textbook, I'll tell you what, Texas is a big deal about our national textbook contracts.
Right.
I mean, the framework, Texas has a big deal with choosing our which publishers. I was on a textbook committee one time. It's a mess reading all these books.
Yeah.
And the different ways that history could be taught.
Right.
As a retired history teacher, or a social studies teacher. So it's tough to be able to settle, bring that down, disseminate the information, and still keep. And I've taught in California and Texas. Mm-hmm. So wow. Kids say yes, ma'am, but you're.
I can imagine there's a big difference. I mean, and even like, it's just like, I've lost the thing that I was going to say about it, but just the simple mentioning, like, well, they always talk about liberal snowflakes and how we're so sensitive and how we're so, we cry about everything. Well, I mean, they're admitting that they're the snowflakes. They're the ones who get upset. Because if you dare mention something from history that paints white people in a bad light, or at least some white people in a bad light, they start boo-hooing. Like,
I get that. Right. We are the snowflakes. Yeah, they're the snowflakes. The whole projection thing, you mean, or
right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, projection is just they project so much they should form a drive-in movie theater. So
that's So also another thing I note about Black history, there are different attitudes, and a large part of the fear was put into people about Black people back in the day when actually blacks outnumbered whites in the South.
Right.
Imagine.
Well, that's why they had to maintain their power structures to.
They were outnumbered.
Right.
They wanted to maintain their power, but also Americans were uniquely cruel. There's some countries actually allow theirs to have indentured servitude and let them go after 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
They were, and some people like in Brazil. I would think the Portuguese slave trade did a lot of Brazil business. That's why you have a lot of that's why they speak Portuguese there.
Right.
So there's a lot of nuance, and you can't put that in a 2-minute soundbite for Fox News viewers.
Right.
They don't have time.
I would say a lot of the Fox News viewers don't have the capacity to even understand it because they've, for so long, have been taught to not critically think. They've been taught to not question.
I think it's state government.
Yeah.
I think state governments have been pocketing the education money. I think they've been scamming, laundering the education money, the federal education money they're getting through state programs and winding it up in their own pockets, and those are their donors. That's what I think, because they're trying to collapse public education.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they've been doing with these school choice programs like vouchers and charter schools.
Precisely.
Is that you get to funnel the dollars into programs. There was a school here that was eligible to accept dollars, the vouchers, and that school taught used the theory of the Loch Ness monster to disprove the theory of evolution. Like that's what it's ridiculous what was allowed to get money, federal money funneled through the state, but they want to destroy public education. Right now in New Orleans, there's no public schools. It's all charter. And we don't have school choice. We have a lottery. And it's, we're lucky if we get the schools that we want. And right now I have to wait to see which school my oldest gets assigned to. And there are some schools that are serious about their education. Then there are other schools that just want to pocket the money and view it as a business. They want to privatize everything we rely on. Yep.
Because they've got automatic customers. It's inelastic goods. The market can deal with ice cream cones. If you like it, you buy it. If you don't, you don't. But they can't. With insulin, you have a guaranteed customer. Right. They can jack that price. And that's what they want to do with fuel. They've done it with fuel and medicine. They want to do it with education. It's a racket, really. They've done it with prisons, even privatized, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, and the problem is we need to learn about things like inelastic goods earlier on in life. Like I only learned about that when I went to college, when I took the econ courses, because had I not taken those economics courses, I wouldn't have known what the price elasticity of demand was. I wouldn't know what that means. I wouldn't know how it applies to the basic. Everyone learns supply demand. That's it, and everybody hears those sound, but they don't understand like the nuances of how, if there's no alternative, if you have to take this, then if the price goes up, you have to deal with it. You have to suck it up and not buy other things. Right, and there's that word nuance again. Yeah. Maybe we should just blat out the word. It's nuance. Yes. See if anybody looks it up on the right wing. But anyway, I'll let you. I don't want to monopolize your program. I just simply wanted to make a couple of comments and recommend that people take a look at that book. You can probably check it out in the library. It's called Crossing the Danger Water. The author escaped me and my books are in storage, so I don't know. I can't give you any more information. I'm going to give a link to it in a second. Belatedly about Nazi Germany. Huh? What was the best one you said? What's the last thing you said? Another one about Nazi Germany is called Backing Hitler, and it's a study of how people fell into falling for Nazism, and it's fascinating. It's by an author by the name of Belatedly. And those are the two recommendations I have for reading. Okay, thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for calling in. I always appreciate your additions to the show. So. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I appreciate your giving me a voice. I appreciate you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Have a good one. So what else are we going to talk about? But this is one of the things I want to talk about this month, as opposed, and all month, because of course it's Black History Month. So we need to make sure that we are addressing these issues, because these issues are very important to, let's see, did I get that right? I think so. The link in the chat is a link to Amazon. If you wanted to buy the Crossing the Danger Water, 300 Years of African American Writing paperback, so therefore you can go and read that as well. Let's see, if you buy it new, I think on Amazon it's $24. You might be able to buy it cheaper, buy it used for $12. There might be a Kindle version as well. So there's just one of the things. And if you use that link, you support Liberal Dan Radio. But you could also go to the library, I'm sure, and get it as well. And I fully endorse utilizing libraries while the conservatives don't kill those too. But yeah, we need to, these first two issues with the murder of Tyre Nichols, and with how DeSantis is trying to shut down people from learning about Black history, and how they're trying to water down and whitewash history in such a way that makes it so that we don't learn about the past, and we don't have an accurate picture of the past, because they're too afraid to show an accurate picture, because they're afraid of how it makes white people's look. Wait, what, Tim? I'm missing something. You said, what state, Dan? Call her what? Black History Month, or as DeSantis call it, Total Hell Month. Yeah. Okay, so Sinful Solutions. Hello, Sinful Solutions. How are you today? We need deprogram her rant. Let's see. The whole thing we're talking about with what's the word that Elizabeth we were using? Nuance. Liberal Dan Radio. Nuanced discussions for an uncomplicated world. Or something like that. Anywho. So the last thing I did want to talk about was Merrick Garland. And we're probably going to try and keep the show an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on if we go, depending how far we go or whatever. But Merrick Garland. Let me open up. I retweeted this on Twitter. It was something that Donald Trump retruthed on Truth Social. I don't know if Hal covered this one or not. So Pete S-T-R-Z-O-K Strzok. I don't know. Pete Strzok. I don't know how that's pronounced. 2 days after saying he still believes Putin more than U.S. intel community, the current Republican frontrunner for president reposts a message encouraging people to be locked and loaded to physically fight for him this time. So this is what at Free Texas 1776 user on Truth Social state. Then they will have to figure out how to fight 80 million plus. It's not going to happen again. People my age and old will physically fight for him this time. What we got to lose. I'll donate the rest of my time here on this planet to do it. And I know many, many others who feel the same. They got my 6, and we are locked and loaded. All capital letters. Pronounced struck. Thank you, Elizabeth. Pete struck. Like the Z is unnecessary, but that's who knows. But we have lots of letters that are unnecessary in words, let alone names, I suppose. So, but the problem with this is not just that. This is an individual who's calling for violence. Locked and loaded is a clear mentioning that they're armed, and they are going to physically fight for him. So this is not nuanced euphemisms or oh, I really didn't mean. No, physically, this is not proverbial. This is literal. They will physically fight for him being Donald Trump. And who retruthed it? Donald Trump did. Donald Trump shared to all of his people who follow him on Truth, which is probably everybody. He shared this, and this is him tacitly approving of people physically fighting for him, which only goes to help prove that he supports people using force to make sure he's in office. Hey, Crimson66. Thank you, by the way, for following me over on Twitch. I saw it the other day. Thank you so much. So, this is the thing with Merrick Garland. I have been very patient with Merrick Garland. There have been a lot of people who have been impatient with Merrick Garland. And I think early on in the whole thing, when it comes to the investigation of Donald Trump, when it comes to his documents, the investigation of Donald Trump, when it comes to his actions or inactions, when it comes to the insurrection on January 6th, either his actions beforehand, inciting people to come down for it to be wild, or his actions on telling them to go march on the Capitol, or his inaction and him not doing anything when he was notified that the people there were storming the Capitol and committing acts of violence, and he didn't do anything to help stop it. I didn't want Merrick Garland to rush. I didn't want Merrick Garland to hurry up a case and have it be sloppy so he loses it. I appreciate the idea in a vacuum of taking the time to dot all your I's and cross all your T's and get all your ducks in a row and whatever other saying you want to, any other cliche that you want to use when it comes to making sure that his case is airtight, waterproof, that nothing can get through, that he will set Donald Trump up and he will make him fall because he's a criminal in and of itself. So, what's my problem? He's taking too damn long. At this point, what else does he need? What else could possibly be left to do before bringing charges on the documents, before bringing charges on his involvement with January 6th and the insurrection? I mean, you already had a judge that said that him and the other guy very well likely committed felonies when it came to January 6th. Hey, Adam, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Make sure to click that subscribe. Easy E Network. A case against the former POTUS has to be perfect. I absolutely agree. That's why I was willing to be patient with him. I felt back in January of 2021 that there was enough evidence there to do something against him, but I was fine with Merrick Garland. I mean, even my wife was like, what's taking so long? Why doesn't he? And I kept saying, look, you've got to dot all your I's. You got to cross your T's. You got to make sure that your case is solid, that there's no flaws in it, that there's no cracks in it, that there's nothing that could be taken advantage of by a Trump attorney when it comes to, procedure, or when it comes to the manner in which you make your argument and how the charges are worded and what charges are brought. I'm fine with being that careful, but I think time is running out. I think Merrick Garland is being, he doesn't want to be seen as political, but that's fine. You don't want the Justice Department to be politicized, but you cannot use the fact that someone is a politician as an excuse to not go after them. I was fine with him getting a special counsel or whatever to deal with a document gate. I was fine with them getting another special counsel dealing with Biden and whatever documents he might have had, although clearly the two situations are completely different because Biden and his team of attorneys are cooperating with the Department of Justice to figure out what was going on. But also, there's the other point that when Biden when Biden took those papers, or when the papers were taken with Biden, or whatever happened with those papers, when he took them, it was only a misdemeanor. Donald Trump changed it to a felony, so therefore when Donald Trump broke the law, he broke the law that was much more harsher of a sentence than Biden may have done if Biden actually violated any laws when it came to the papers that he took, that was found on his property. So there's that, but again, but even with that, even ignoring the papers, let the papers things do its merry thing with the special prosecutor or whatever. There's enough out there. You have the entirety of the January 6th videos. You have enough evidence there in the videos to show what and the arguments and the testimony that was given by the people who were part of that administration, clearly saying that Donald Trump knew that he lost the election, knew that Joe Biden was the winner, yet still went out pushing the false narrative that he didn't lose, that Biden didn't win, that Trump was the winner, and that it was stolen from him, supposedly, all because he wanted to rile up this aggravated base that he knew would go fight for him, and he did whatever he could to get them to fight for him. And then when they were physically fighting for him, he did nothing to stop it. The dereliction of duty that he had, the malfeasance in office that he had, by just sitting there and doing nothing for hours while they attacked the Capitol, should be in and of itself a chargeable offense for them to go after him and get him locked up for good. Nick, thank you. Yes, my voice does sound better. I agree. Voice feels better. And again, as Leanna brings up in the chat, Jim Jordan, MTG, Bobo the Clown, Matt Pizzagates. Also, there should be enough evidence there for them to get brought up in charges and convicted as well. I would think. I mean, whoever gave tours, there should be enough there as well. Welcome back, Demonox. Yes, and Trump knew that the traitors were armed. Absolutely, he knew it. He didn't care. He told the people, "It's like they're not here to shoot me." He didn't want them. He wanted them to take the metal detectors down and let the armed people in, because he wasn't afraid of them, because he knew who they were there to shoot, and it wasn't him. They were there to support him. Also, when he said that he wanted the National Guard, he didn't want the National Guard to defend the Capitol. He wanted the National Guard there to defend his supporters against people like the Capitol Police. So I'm at the point. I've supported Merrick Garland's cautious, practical, pragmatic approach to making sure that nothing was political, that it was all based on facts, that he wanted to get all his ducks in a row, whatever. I'm fine with all that. I was fine with all that. But enough's enough, as they say. It's time to shit or get off the pot. Is he going to? There I have no evidence. If I were to be a gambling man at the moment, even though I think there's enough evidence there, I would say that Garland, at this point, I would bet that he wouldn't bring charges, because at this point I have no reason to believe that he will, because he's taking so long with it. And you can bring multiple charges. Like, the charges that could come from the documents case would be completely different, a completely different trial than the charges that might come from January 6th. But there must be a charge. There must be one singular charge at least that they could at least bring now. And then maybe bring others later. Amend the filing. Bring more cases, bring more suits against him. Adam, have I gone on a show with Hal Sparks? I have called into Hal Sparks. Hal Sparks has also called into here several times. I'm hoping to get Hal on sometime this month. Is Andrea here yet? I'm looking to because this would be the Haliversary, because last year in February is the first time I had Hal Sparks on a show, And so I'm hoping to get that happening again. I know Hal's been very busy, so I can't necessarily push on it. I don't want to push him too hard on it, but yeah, it's having Hal on has been great, and I hope to have him on more again in the future. I've called into the Saturday show a couple of times. I've never been an actual guest on his other cast. Like, I haven't been on like as a guest like Philip Bittner has. I have had Philip Bittner as a guest, and I want to get him on the show sometime this month as well. Let's see, Rose Blake. Garland has a lot on his plate. Yeah, Garland does have a lot on his plate, but he also has a lot of people under him to handle a lot of other things. And how much more time does Merrick Garland need to bring charges? That's the thing. What else is left for him to look up? What else is left for him to do? What I's and T's have yet to be dotted and or crossed in order to get this ball rolling, so to speak? Demonox Trumper is going to regret Garland not being on SCOTUS. Well, I mean, maybe Demonox, maybe they'll be happy with it. Maybe they're happy he's not on SCOTUS because as of right now, he hasn't brought the charges. Now, the Justice Department have brought charges against many of the other people who were involved on January 6th. And you've had many of the people involved on January 6th plea out and or admit that they were guilty and, gave, I guess, testimony based on, why they did what they did. And all of them basically said that they did what they did because they felt that they were called there by their president to do what it is that they did. Tim, I was a guest on Hal's show once. Was I? I don't think I was a guest on Hal. I've called in to Hal's show. But I don't think I haven't connected like Philip did at all. But I've called in twice. Let's see. Kimchi, every single accusation against Biden is based on twisted facts or outright lies. Hunter and Biden didn't collude on crap. It's all BS narrative constructed by white and minority. Don't fall for it. Absolutely. Welcome back, Elizabeth, again. Yes, Adam. Garland has so many resources, there's no excuse. Legal Eagle has a great video on Garland and how this investigation is likely to proceed. I will have to go check that out. I do like Legal Eagle's channel. I recommend you go watch it as well. If you haven't watched Legal Eagle, he has some good entertaining videos and good knowledge videos. Like, you'll have videos like, how did this TV show do its court case? Was it good? Was it not good? What was flawed? Like, he looked at Measure of a Man from Star Trek The Next Generation. He looked at Legally Blonde and, what was good, what was not good about what was done in this one, why you wouldn't be able to do this in an American court or not. Of course, in the Federation, it's not an American court. It's a military tribunal type of court with a judge, advocate general, or whatever. But yeah, it's a very good channel. I would highly recommend it. Biden equals I forgot stuff. Oops. Trump, it's mine. You can't have it. Exactly. That's the thing about Trump. Trump's like, it was planted there, but it's mine, and it's confidential because it's communications with me and my attorneys. What? Which one is it? Was it planted there, or was it your communication with your attorneys, or what was it? Conservatives, House Strength Amendment. Adam, RP Bark Queen. Absolutely. I was shocked that she was a year younger than me. I was very shocked to hear that she died this week, and she was fighting cancer. She was the Borg Queen on Picard. She played a part on The Rookie. She was Tess in the video game version of not Here I Stand, The Last of Us. Oh my God! If you have not watched The Last of Us, watch The Last of Us. If you have access to HBO or your friend's HBO account, go watch The Last of Us. Like, it started off really good, and it's a show about like these zombies that are like I call them mushroom zombies because it's based on fungus, like the fungus that I think a lot of people have seen the things about the fungus that can take over an ant. Like, an ant will get infected by this fungus and it will like the fungus will start controlling the ant and how the ant moves or whatever. It's really creepy stuff. But so they have a show based on the game, and it has Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones and Mandalorian. It also has another acting professional, because I don't know what you would call, if you would say actor or actress, because I believe they go by they, them. So I forget the name. I forget their name off the top of my head. But another, somebody else from Game of Thrones who never went on screen at the same time as Pedro Pascal. But so the first 2 episodes are kind of giving yourself, you get some backstory, you get some action dealing with what's going on with like these quarantine zones, this, that, the other. But then episode 3, I'm not going to spoil it too much when it comes to it. However, you may cry at episode 3. I was not expecting such a beautiful episode in a show about mushroom zombies. So, yeah. Go, because reality isn't freaking enough. Exactly. But yeah, go watch it. If you have the ability to watch it, I recommend watching it. You probably don't even need to watch the first 2 episodes just to watch the 3rd episode and get a good, cry out. I'd still recommend watching the first 2 anyway, because it'll give you a little bit more of a background as to what's going on and why the people are in the situation that they're in. I guess that's the best spoiler-free discussion of that episode that I can give. I don't want to say anything else about it for fear of spoiling what's in the show. So, yes, Tim, no spoilers. And yes, I'm very big about not spoiling shows. I don't like people that spoil shows. They used to have a person, former friend of mine, who would have no problem just discussing what happened on particular shows. And I was like, dude, like, you have to give people several weeks to watch a movie before posting about it on Facebook. Or at least what I would do is I would say, hey, I want to make a group about this movie that I just saw. If you want into the group to discuss the movie, then go. Then I forgot to turn off my Alexa. So what was I saying? I don't even remember anymore. I got whatever. Oh, spoilers. So make a Facebook group and be like, hey, come join my Facebook group and we'll discuss this particular episode, this particular show, or this particular movie, and so you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about me posting a spoiler, because I'll do it privately where you can't see it. So there you go. To Jeff Curry, right there, here sucks. 40 car pileup. Don't the driver of 40 feel like a dumbass? I can't see that. Let's see. Hold on. What's Tim? What are you saying about Biden's integrity? What about aboutism is right-wing talking points? I'm concerned about Biden being affected. Being affected about what specifically? Patty Whack, mom is in the hospital diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My brother gave her COVID. She's doing well. Please be careful, everyone. I hope you're feeling better now. I am feeling much better. We never retested. I guess they don't recommend, retesting once you test positive for COVID. They just recommend being safe for 2 weeks or whatever. However, I did retest to make sure that I was safe around my family. And I made sure that I stayed away from my family until I retested and tested negative. But then again, I got the Paxlovid and she didn't, because I am the one who gave her, I am the one that gave her the Rona, unfortunately. Oh, we got a caller. Okay. Yes. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hello.
Yes.
I'm Leo. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay. What's going on?
Nothing much. I remember the Tyre thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's a shame what they did.
Okay, I agree.
But at least but at least the police chief is not, you know what I'm saying. They're not defending the officers.
True. That is true. That you don't have the thin blue line going on here. It's kind of hard to have the thin blue line here when it comes to that, because how can you defend that? And
Right.
It's impossible. I mean, I listen to a very conservative show in the mornings. It's where I get some of my material. Even that host was talking about how it was bad what happened there. So it seems that we have a good majority of the country who are coming together to be critical of this. Now, if that turns into actual action on reforming police departments, that remains to be seen. But at least there's a good chunk of people, more than normal, coming out against what happened in that particular situation. Now, of course, there are people who are still making the same old tired arguments like, well, he wouldn't have died if he wouldn't have resisted. Well, I have no reason to believe that, because he wasn't resisting at the beginning and they started pulling the crap. But there are still always going to be the apologists who have no problem with police actions that take out black people. Do you have any other comments?
It's the same thing with Jesse Lee Peterson. No matter how racist or how brutal the police can be, he'll still defend them, but he'll double speak. Like, you ask him about something, he'll say, I don't know, I wasn't there. But then he's the same one that will defend the same people that he says he doesn't know he wasn't there.
Right. Well, we all were there because we all got to see the cameras after the fact. And if you want to see the cameras, you can watch them and you can see what happened and what went on. So there definitely needs to be a reckoning when it comes to policing in this country and how it is done. So I do appreciate the call. Thank you so much. If you haven't followed me over on YouTube, please make sure to do so. I'm ending up the show soon because I don't want to risk my voice too much. But again, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Why isn't the Fraternal Order Police coming out to defend them, or at least asking for their due process? Ken QBS. I don't know. Maybe they're not. I mean, I don't think there's any evidence that they're not getting due process, and maybe that's why. I don't know. Let me see if there's anything about FOP on Tyre. Let's see. FOP president responds to Tyre Nichols arrest video. Let's see. Boom. Patrick. The event as described to us does not constitute legitimate police work or a traffic stop gone wrong. This is a criminal assault under the pretext of law, is what the president of the FOP said. Nichols died on January 10th, 3 days after he was stopped by police. Now here's one interesting thing that I did want to say. Here's one interesting thing that I did want to say about this in particular, because I haven't called into Jeff's to ask about this yet. However, a lot of the times the people who would talk about the Officer Sicknick that died the day after the insurrection in Washington, D.C., they'll say, well, he didn't die at the insurrection, so therefore it can't be the fault of an insurrectionist. Well, is he then going to say that because Tyre Nichols died 3 days after he was assaulted that it's not related to the assault? No, that's ridiculous. So clearly, just because you had an assault take place on a different day than the death took place, it doesn't mean that the actions that of the assault weren't responsible, at least in part, for the death. Hey, Megan, thank you for joining us as well. Thank you so much. The FOP is throwing these officers up as sacrifices. Maybe. I don't know. Here's my thing when it comes to that. I don't think that they have a chance in hell of surviving a fair trial. But it needs to be a fair trial. It needs to be, again, the prosecutors in this case need to dot all their I's and cross all the T's and make sure they make no mistakes. Because even if a case is cut and dry, like we all think that this case will be, I don't think that even if the case is cut as dry, you can screw it up as a prosecution. You can still screw up the prosecution, and prosecutorial misconduct can result in a mistrial or a non-guilty verdict. However, I will guess that because of what is on these videos, that it is highly likely that each of these officers will try and do a plea deal. They will probably try and plea out, and we'll say, look, we'll plead guilty, we'll accept this amount of prison time so we don't risk a further amount of prison time. And, I mean, I guess they don't have to accept a plea deal. I guess the prosecution doesn't have to accept it if they feel it's a slam dunk. But they may very well just want to say, hey, okay, if the punishment is big enough, then, if they're willing to plea, because it's second-degree murder. Let's see, punishment Tennessee, second-degree. Helps if I spell right. Murder, punishment Tennessee, second-degree murder. Penalties and sentences. Second-degree murder is not eligible for the death penalty as first degree. However, it is a Class A felony, which is the highest level for felonies in Tennessee. Felonies have a significant range for sentencing purposes. The circumstances of the crime can greatly affect the amount of prison time. There is no statute of limitations for second-degree murder. Second-degree murder is a felony punishable by 15 to 60 years in prison and a fine not more than $50,000. That link did not work, unfortunately. So 15 to 60 years is a wide variety, and I'm sure the fact that there are police officers, that they are police officers or were police officers at the time of the murder, perhaps that would allow for extenuating circumstances that might give the judge or the sentencing the ability to say, okay, well, we're going to give you the higher amount than a lower amount, but perhaps in a plea maybe they get 20 instead of 60, or maybe they get 30 instead of 60. Who knows? I don't know how many people are going to be happy with 20. I think that the prosecution could very well go for 60, and they might very well get it. Maybe they won't accept the plea, but I think the people are probably going to try and do a plea deal first to I guess try and get it all over with. Let's see, sinful solutions. If you're caught on a video and not taking a deal would surprise me. I guess that's the thing. They would probably all take a deal. It's just a matter of whether or not the prosecution would want to accept a deal. If they said 30, I think most people would be okay with 30. However, I don't know. I don't know if they have to. Because of this, I don't know if there's there's probably no requirement of the prosecution to accept a plea deal. So if that's the case, then maybe the prosecution just says, no, we're not going to do a plea deal. We're going to leave it up to the judge, and we believe that we will get, a amount of years higher than what you would accept a plea for. So, hello, Dark Brain, the West. Adam, I was beaten by cops, drunk and disorderly. Cops were reassigned to the lower 48 and not fired. Cops make 86 in Hawaii, make 86,000 in brand new SUVs. The cop car hit a start. Damn. Rose Blake, I've been depressed since 2016. That's understandable, absolutely. At least 2017. I remember it was January 19th in 2017. My youngest one was asking us if we were going to go to the dark side, and we had no idea what he was talking about. But then I was like, well, tomorrow Trump is getting inaugurated, so yes, we're all going to the dark side tomorrow. But turned out he wanted to go see the Jedi training at Star Wars in Hollywood Studios at Disney World. So, yeah, Demonox first give away the cops named the unit Scorpion in the world's worst forced acronym ever, so they could look badass. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Was Scorpion an actual acronym? Oh, jeez. Memphis Scorpion unit meaning. I was wondering if it was an acronym. Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. Oh my God, that's terrible. Ugh. Puke. But yeah, I mean, they named him after a deadly insect. I'm assuming Scorpion isn't in this. Liberal Dan, see Star Wars directed by Kubrick. Yeah. Was it Nick Rich? Always look on the bright side of life. I was riding with Bud and pulled over. A cop asked if I was drinking. He said, "Why are you buying?" Hey, Egg off Twitler, thank you for joining as well. Hey, Trucker John, I didn't see you there as well. I didn't see Paddywhack. I don't know if it said hi to Paddywhack. Hi, Paddywhack. Hi, Rose. See what else. So I guess we're kind of just muddling through the end of the show. Maybe we'll go till 9:30, I guess. We'll see. I'm not having too much of a bad coughing fit at the moment. Or my throat isn't too sore as well. But yes, again, remember, if you want to support the show, if you haven't subscribed already to YouTube, please subscribe to YouTube. Go to, subscribe to all my channels, or follow Twitter, Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Liberal Dan. Actually, I just got started trying to use the Facebook.com/Liberal Dan Radio page as well. So there's that too. If you want to support the show monthly, you can support the show monthly by becoming a Liberal Dan Radio patron. Patreon.liberaldan.com or patreon.com/liberaldan. You can Venmo me. You can buy me a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com/liberaldan radio, or go to liberaldan.com. Click the Buy Me a Cider button. Let's see. Oh, Adam. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's a joke. It's true. You'll see it's all a show. Keep on laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you. I want to say when they came, I saw Eric Idle and John Cleese in concert here in New Orleans. And they sang Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, but I think they said Trump's a piece of shit when you look at it. Jeff Curry, what is a cider? There is a place called Broad Street Cider in New Orleans. It's alcoholic fermented cider. Like, you might see like a Woodchuck cider in the store, or Angry Orchard, those types of things. Although these ciders are so much better than those than those stuff that you get in the bottles in the stores. Like I used to like Angry Orchard as a cider. This place has absolutely ruined Angry Orchard for me because this stuff is so much better. It's a small business that opened a little bit before the pandemic. We've been supporting them through the pandemic and beyond. So when you support the show and you buy me a cider, it's money that could potentially go to me buying a cider. And I don't like coffee, so saying buy me a coffee isn't necessarily the greatest thing. Strongbow is good. I probably would still drink a Strongbow. Maybe. I probably would still like Strongbow. Maybe. Jeff Curry, what's Angry Orchard? Just alcoholic apple juice. We have 69 views. Nice. Let's see. Nick Rich, no credit card. Can I use the gift cards to help, or whoever might know? No credit card. What kind of gift cards? Like a gift credit card, or like a gift card for whatever. If you got like a gift card for Twitch, you could support minordydan.com on Twitch. That could be something you could do. But in reality, if you have Venmo is probably the best, because I keep everything that comes to Venmo. I only get half of the Twitch proceeds. Buy me a coffee, buy me a cider. I think I get some of that as well. So yeah, you can use Google if you have an Android phone. You can use the credits on the Google Play Store to pay for Twitch, or you can use a Twitch gift card and buy things on Twitch as well. Or if one thing I recommend doing is downloading Google Rewards. It's basically asks you where you go, and you take little 10-second surveys that give you anything between 10 cents and $1 for the surveys that you take. And that way you can subscribe to people on Twitch for free without having to actually spend any of your own money. I think it took me 2 months with driving around, and I drive around much less these days because I work from home, but it took 2 months for me to get up enough money from the surveys to resubscribe, to use my one Twitch channel ID to resubscribe to my other one. So I could basically turn the rewards money into real cash that I can use. So, kimchi. They also have mead at Broad Street Cider. They have several meads. The Imperial mead, oh my god, it's so delicious. The meads that they have are probably my favorites, except for the Viscount, which is a boozy caramel apple cider, which is also very good. Some people like Dickens, but that's a whole dirty joke that I don't want to go into right now. Let's see, what else? What else are we going on about? But yeah, if you go to, let's see, twitch.tv/nerdy. If you go here, you can also follow me over here. What just happened? I just lost my page. Lost the studio, so to speak. I don't want this to start loading because it's going to play my trailer and it's going to be very loud. There we go. I'm back on my studio again. I clicked away from my studio. I need a new mouse. Should have a buy me a mouse button. Let's see. There we go. Credit cards crunched me before the pandemic. We're trying to climb out of the hole. I understand that. I mean, I've managed to stay out of debt, but I also was able to. I was very lucky right when the pandemic started. I had literally worked exactly I earned exactly enough money as an independent contractor to qualify for the max PPP loan. I didn't have to, if I would have earned $1 less, I would have gotten less PPP loans, and if I would have gotten $1 more, I wouldn't have gotten any more. It was that close. And I was able to get the first PPP loan. I was able to get the second PPP loan. I also got EIDL loans, and I'm having to pay that back now, which sucks. But, it happens. And, it
is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. That's my Twitch, in chat, that's my Twitch account. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my Twitch account every month for free. Doesn't cost you anything extra. You just have to hook up your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. It's best if you do it in a browser. It's easiest. You could do it on an Android phone as well. You can't do it from an iPhone. You have to do it from a browser. That's the only problem. I've not been able to help people doing it directly from an iPhone. I think you can do it from a browser on an Apple, on a Mac, but I don't think you can do it on using your iPhone. But you can do it with a Google phone or with an Android phone. You can do it on any browser. You should be able to. So, we made rosé mead and a Beltane ritual once. Sounds good. I try it. Wait, don't hit the desk, Danny. It sounds like my furnace coming on. Sorry. My bad. iPhones can never do anything. Yeah, I'm not that super familiar with my iPhone. I do have one. It's the work gave me one, which was actually work gave me one, and then work gave me a new one. I had an iPhone 13, and my wife had an iPhone 12, and she was not happy because she's the iPhone person. She loves her iPhone, so we went ahead and got her eventually an iPhone 14. But it was nice to be able to. I have two phones now. I'm one of those people with two cell phones. So it is what it is. Sorry, Donald. Family friend used to run Shine out of Southern Virginia to all points north. Nice. Saw a commercial for a show about moonshining. I don't know if it was. I don't know how good it is or not, but looked like someone was about to have their moonshine distillery or whatever shut down. Kimchi, as a gay man, I don't even like having that much hair on my chest or back or knuckles. Well, I don't have any choice. Westweb Galaxy S22, it's like a miracle in my pocket. I have a half dozen old cell phones. I actually have a Guess 22, and I haven't figured out how to. I need to play around with it to figure out how to do all the stuff. Because it used to be you would get a manual with how to use your phone. I don't know how to use my phone with a lot of the stuff. I was able to figure out some picture editing stuff and then be able to edit out ahead in order to make a meme, which was fun. So, see, my dad used to say exact same thing about everything. Eat your veggies, it'll put hair on your chest. Yeah. I would be a bear in the gay community, clearly. So, let's see. Boom. Anything else we really want to talk about? Anything else that anybody else wants to talk about before I decide to hang it up for the night? Because, I don't want to strain my voice and do a 3-hour show yesterday on Twitch. Although I don't talk as much on Twitch because sometimes I'm actually concentrated in the games that I'm playing. Let's see. Egg off Twitter. So Omar is anti-Semitic for criticizing Netanyahu's. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Thank you. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anti-Semitic for claiming that California's wildfires were caused by Jewish space lasers. Yeah, that pretty much sums up conservative thought and how consistent it is. Absolutely. I'm Jewish. Is the scorpion an arachnid? You just got around to that? Yeah. Maybe you're listening late. I don't know, Demonox. But yeah, arachnid. I thought it might have been an arachnid. I wasn't sure if it was an arachnid or a whatchamacallit, or an insect. But whatever. It's poisonous, and it'll kill you. Maybe. But yeah, I did want to talk about Netanyahu. I'll get to the caller in a second. I did want to talk about Netanyahu because Netanyahu thinks that he could somehow broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Are you flipping kidding me? I mean, Netanyahu can't broker a peace deal between Israel and anybody else. How is he going to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I guess under conservative thought, I guess I'm also anti-Semitic because I also criticize Netanyahu's Israeli government because, they suck. Like, I'm Jewish, so, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be. But, yeah, I don't agree with everything that Omar says, but I don't agree with everything that Biden says. I don't agree with everything that most politicians says. I don't agree with everything that 2004 me said, for that matter. So, yeah. Yeah, criticizing Netanyahu is no problem. Criticizing Israel is in and of itself is not a problem. You can criticize Israel all day long. Now, there are some people that criticize Israel and they sound absolutely anti-Semitic, but that's, completely different ball of wax. Caller, name, where you from? Once you finally get loaded. There you are. Caller. Did you want to say anything?
Dan?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? I'm thinking I need to take you off speaker.
Oh, hey Wes, how's it going?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I got nothing to say.
Okay, you just were listening, or?
I just see all these people in the live chat.
Yeah.
And it's called parasocial. You know what that word is?
What is parasocial?
Jolie hates it. But anyway, it's like we don't really know each other, right?
Uh-huh.
But I just fucking love all these people that are in your live chat right now. I can't explain it.
I mean,
I can't. I see them all. I see all these names, and if I start saying them, I'll get in big trouble because I'll miss one. And yes, John, it's me. God dang it! Don't you know me by now?
but no.
Anyway.
I mean, only thing I think I would say I would disagree with that, Wes, is I've known.
Talk me out of it. I really want to be talked out of it.
I've gotten to know and love people online, just by talking to them a very long time. There was somebody that I met on the internet back in maybe it was all the way back in 98, 99-ish. So it was definitely before 2000. I think it was before 2000. We met on eBay discussion boards, and we used to fight a bunch, and then we actually started getting to know each other, and he had his. I definitely knew him before Katrina, so it was definitely before 2005. And he's in Los Angeles, and I'm in New Orleans, and we just really good friends, and we never got the opportunity to meet until 2019, when we both happened to both be in New York at the same time, and we got together and had hot chocolate together, and it was like two brothers meeting and hanging out. So I don't think you have to necessarily be in person to have good feelings and whatever. So, but still.
No. I'm not saying that exactly. I'm just saying that it's like an addiction or something. I can't explain it. Okay, my history. I'm an old man. I turned 66 years old yesterday.
Happy birthday. Well,
I really did.
Happy
Everybody
birthday.
Wished me. Everybody here already wished me a happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wes. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Oh, God, Danny. I could expound on your voice right now. And part of it is you pitched it a little too low.
Okay.
But otherwise, you have I don't want to say this to hurt anybody's feelings, but you have a better radio voice than Hal Sparks does.
Well, he has a better. That. He may have a better TV face than I do. So.
I know he's so fucking cute.
But
he just can't help it, and I'm straight. But God dang it, I'd do him. I would if I could, but I can't.
I mean, there's always an exception, right? The exception proves the rule.
Yeah, you get a list. I had one with my last girlfriend. But anyway,
all right. Well,
I am 66 years old, and I was. You know what AOL is or was?
Oh yeah, I used to be on AOL. Yeah.
Okay, I was an AOL pioneer through the NEA, the National Education Association. Okay, Newsweek magazine and a couple other things. They needed some people to get on it at the very beginning.
Right.
And we did, and they gave part of it was free, but I paid at least $100 almost every month.
Holy crap.
For AOL. Call in, dial up.
Right.
It was insanity, but I loved it so much. I couldn't explain it. I can't explain it still. But and then, I've been to therapy and stuff, and they said this parasocial, they're not real, but you're looking for love or whatever, and these people are there, and I've told other people about this already, but I had a couple of people, female people, that I was so much in love with that I can't even I think I should be done. I've probably told enough already.
That's fine, Wes. Well, again, I'm going to ending in a few minutes anyways, but thank you so much again for calling in, Wes. I appreciate you.
I love
Wes.
you, Dan.
Have a
I
good
really
one.
do. Not sexual at all.
I
just
understand
think
that.
you're so cool. You're really fucking wonderful. And so are all these other people that I'm looking at their names, and I just love them. I can't help it.
That's one thing I have to absolutely say is that a year ago, almost now, was when I first had Hal on the show, and ever since then, it's been great. Not just because I got to meet and talk to Hal, well, not meet in person, but talk to Hal Sparks on my show and interview a celebrity. But I also got to have the best part is I have all these new people who regularly listen to my show that I'm friends with, and hopefully one day I'll get to meet everyone. So, because I would love to have that happen, even you, Wes. So, appreciate you again. Happy birthday. You have a good one.
No, I have a couple of questions. I still have a couple questions
go ahead.
now because I'm reading the chat. Okay, Nick and I are the same age for 31 more days. That's
Nice.
kind of cool. Now, and February only has 28 or 29.
28.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and then Jeff says he sounds older than me, but it's probably the Southern draw. And now I'm saying, okay, is it me that has the fucking Southern draw? Because I really try and hide it as much as I can, and I know that Hal Sparks does too.
All right. I think I missed the
get
last
that?
part. I think I might have missed the last part, but whatever.
Do I have a Southern draw?
A little bit.
Yes, I am, Rose. You know I am. Stoned, kind of. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, according to the person who
Jeff
I was,
says
according
it's
to the
not me,
person I
he
was
thinks-
almost named after, everybody must get stoned. So, all right.
Jeff says he's the one with the Southern draw. So good on me. I don't have one.
Well,
Okay, love you all.
All right, have a good one, Wes.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
My mom almost named me Dylan Zimmerman after Bob Dylan because his initial name is Robert Zimmerman, so she almost named me Dylan Zimmerman, and she's decided against it. But I guess it would have been nice to be able to do if I could be named Dylan and then do a good everybody. She looks just like a woman, do some Bob Dylan imitations or whatever. Anyway. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Liberal Bob. Well, it'd be liberal Dylan. I don't know. Would liberal Dylan flow as well as liberal Dan? So I don't know. But yeah. I could have had like a Chillin' with Dylan podcast. Now I have to do something else. Now I have to name it. Now it's just Liberal Dan. Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. Anyway, so let's just go ahead because I feel the throat issues starting to rise back up again. So I think this would be a good time to end the show. But remember, I gave the Twitch link earlier. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitch, as well as if you want to subscribe, that'd be great too. Especially if you have Amazon, you can do it for free. I will be streaming on Twitch probably right around it. Maybe again at 8:15, 8:30. I don't know. Simply because of the fact that my mother-in-law's staying with us, and so they had to teach us how to. I've become Nurse Dan as well, because I've had to put the medicine in her line, and they have a neat little ball thing that I guess is pressurized, so that when you release the pressure, it automatically sucks all of the medicine out of there, so you don't have to have it hanging in a bag. It just goes directly into the line. But in order to do it, you first have to flush it with saline, and then you put the medicine in, and then you flush it with saline again, and then you put heparin in it. At night, you only do the one. In the morning, you do 2 medicines. But yeah, so we have to do that. So it's 7 o'clock, and then it's right around 8 o'clock. So after I give her dose of her medicine is when I'll probably start when I'll start the streaming of the live stream for over on Twitch, twitch.tv/nerdydan.com. Again, I'll do that again on Tuesday. And then I'll be back next Wednesday again, 8 p.m. Central, blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan or Liberal Dan Radio here on YouTube. Again, subscribe if you haven't liked the video. Like it on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Buy me a cider. Venmo me. You could become a Liberal Dan Radio patron. All that good stuff. Till next week, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.